Hi there, welcome to the next lesson, and in this one I'd like to focus on buttons. We're not going to explain in detail every component section of the docs. However, I think that buttons are pretty important. You'll use them very often and they are slightly complicated, at least a bit more complicated than all of the other elements components. So we have buttons and then we have medium. So this is about the size of the button. So we have medium and small. As you can see, the small version is here as well. And this is just slightly smaller button. And we also have button fluid, which has two sizes as well. And this is medium and also small. So the fluid button is similar to this one, but it expands to the entire width and height of the container. Then we have primary, secondary, and outline. And within those, we have four variants of the button. So we have the one with the text, icon to the right, icon to the left, and we have just an icon. Here is the primary version. We also have the secondary version, which is slightly lighter, and we have outline, and we also have ghosts, which you'll use for the dark backgrounds. And then we have the same for small buttons. So we have basic small button and then small secondary, small outline and ghost. And the same goes for the fluid. We have fluid medium. We also have a small version, and all of those versions have four different variants of the button. And we also have this primary, secondary, and outline and ghost for the styles of the button. So I think it's quite easy to grasp and quite easy to use if you remember the classes. Also, I'm going to show you in a second how to modify all of those buttons in one place. But first, let's learn how to use them. So as usual, you click on the name of this element in the docs, and then you press Command E and Command V to paste the specific button. You can also go to the button page of the docs and copy and paste components from there. So this is something you've learned in the previous lesson already. Now, what I like to show you is the section below. So at the very bottom, you have the customize section, and that's the section you want to focus on if you want to change the styling of the buttons. We have two specific subsections here. In the first one, you want to edit padding, text size, and border radius. In the second one, you'll edit color and states. And we ask you kindly to just comply to these rules. It's super important not to change, let's say, color in the first section. So you select the button here, you have button medium class, and you can apply, let's say, border radius. Now, as you can see, this was applied to all of the button medium, but we also have button small. So you have to select button small and apply this border radius here as well. Now you have to complete this operation also for button fluid. So you need to change button fluid and fluid medium and fluid small as well. If you want to do it in one run, you're just going to delete the combo class medium, and now you have all the buttons and you can apply border radius straight from here. This will affect both medium and small buttons. This won't affect fluid buttons because let's revert this medium class. Remember to add this combo class when you make modifications, but this won't affect button fluid because this is basically a different class. For this class, I'm going to apply 6 pixel border radius, and I'm going to have it for all of my buttons, variants and sizes now applied. You can see that below you also have this buttons with border radius. And in the section below, I can edit colors and states. So if I want to edit colors for all of my buttons, I'm going to select the one at the bottom. And now I'm going to select, let's say, secondary 60 color. Now I've applied this swatch to all of my button mediums. As you can see, this has not been applied to the states of the button. And in order to apply this to the hover state, I'm going to go to hover. And now I can make changes. So let's say I want to apply this secondary 50. So I want to have slightly lighter version of the button while hovering the mouse over it, and this is how you do it. So that's pretty easy. You have button medium and also its states. This is button medium secondary. That's why the styles were not applied. And here you have hover state as well. And you want to adjust it if you want to change colors, because here for this button, you'll see that for the outline version, we need to change the hover color as well. So every modifications you make to the state, remember to do these modifications in this second box. Also, what we can change here is the color of the text, but please be careful about the classes you apply those modifications to, because we have this button medium outline class, or we can go directly to button text. However, this button text, if we make the change, if we change it to neutral 10, as you can see, it was applied to all of the other buttons as well, at least some of them. So if you don't want to apply this particular change to the other ones, what you'd need to do is select different class. For example, this button medium outline. And if you modify the text color in typography section only for this particular class, as you can see, this color comes from the specific class here, you can override it just for this type of buttons. So you have to learn to experiment where is that particular CSS class overwritten, and you can just investigate with the orange and blue colors in the CSS style pane. I already told you that something that you have in the orange color, for example, this box shadow, you can click on this to see where it comes from, where this is modified, and optimally for the buttons and all the other elements in System Flow, you want to modify those properties which are in blue if you want to modify it across the entire framework. So for example, I have this inner shadow that comes from button outline, and if I want to change it, it would be optimal to go to this very definition, to button outline combo class, and then make modifications to this box shadow. Please take a look what happens if I now remove those classes. Immediately, some of the CSS properties, they highlight in blue. It means that I'm in the right place to modify this property. If it's in orange, I'm probably in not best place to modify this across the entire framework. And this is a very important rule, and this is not something that we made, just randomly. We thought out all the properties that are here, and we think that this structure, even if sometimes it's a bit cumbersome that you have to remove something and then re-add this, we think that it's still the simplest and the best way to just keep everything in order and to just have it really nicely organized. And remember, this is only something that we've invented. You can always make it better. You can adjust System Flow to your needs. Now, if we have this button, you can see that this is button medium secondary and icon to the right. So I can search for button, and now I can just place the button in on the canvas. If you want to use any of the buttons, you can scroll through those. You can also adjust the search. The search in Webflow is pretty smart, so it's enough to just have some small bits and pieces of the name of the component, and then it will automatically find this component. So sometimes you can just put but icon, and then you'll have what you need, and for example, but icon left or right, or whatever. And now you place this element with return, and you have some overrides. I've already told you what they do, but to be consistent with other lessons, you can adjust overrides. You can, for example, change the text of the button without even unlinking this from a symbol. You also have the icon. So, for example, if you want to use API icon from Material Design, you just have to remember the name and put it in here, and this will change automatically. You also have the URL you can put and some other properties for this button. So you don't need to necessarily unlink this element. This is pretty important for buttons because most of the time when you will think about unlinking this instance of a button, I guess that it's worth to think, okay, can I do it first for all of the buttons and go to this specific button page, to the customize section, and just customize the buttons so they are consistent across my website? Or this is like super specific button that I want to just customly override, and then and only then will I unlink this button from its instance and make those modifications. So I think that, we keep repeating some of the basics of System Flow, but those are the most important things. For example, now, if you unlink and you want to modify something and create a uniquely looking button, this is the way to go. You can apply another class, and I strongly recommend you do so because otherwise it will apply to all of the buttons and stuff like that. So it's always best to think what you have in the selector and apply some extra class if you want to create something really, really custom that you won't reuse in the system. So my custom class, whatever name you select here, now you can safely apply all of the CSS properties and modify those which are in orange, and you'll have it applied only to this very instance of a button. So let's say I want to have bigger blur here. No worries. I can also change the color, like make it a little more opaque. And you can see that this is now only one instance of this very button on my whole page. In order to customize the default state of the button and default behavior, you're going to go to this button page. And that's it for the buttons. See you in the next one.